Two co-workers buy cars on the same day. Same dealership, same car, same color, same everything. One of them finances, one of them leases. The finance guy pays $620 a month. The lease guy pays $389 a month. The lease guy walks out feeling like a genius. The finance guy walks out questioning his life choices. $231 a month cheaper for the same car? How is that even possible? What does the lease guy know that the finance guy doesn't? Nothing. The lease guy knows nothing. He just agreed to pay for a car without ever owning it, locked himself into mileage restrictions, committed to returning it in perfect condition or paying penalties, and guaranteed that he'll be making car payments for the rest of his natural life because the moment this lease ends, he'll need another one. The finance guy has a higher payment, but in 5 years he'll own a paid-off car and drive it payment-free for years. The lease guy will be signing his third lease, having paid roughly the same total amount, and owning absolutely nothing. Or wait, maybe the lease guy is actually the smart one. Maybe he's driving a nicer car for less money, staying under warranty the entire time, writing it off as a business expense, and never dealing with the headaches of owning an aging vehicle. Maybe the finance guy is the sucker, watching his car depreciate while he's still paying interest on it. This is the lease versus buy debate, and it's one of the most argued, most misunderstood, and most financially significant decisions in the car world. Both sides have passionate advocates. Both sides have legitimate arguments. And both sides are wrong about certain things they're absolutely sure they're right about. Let's do the actual math. Not vibes, not opinions. Math. When you finance a car, you're borrowing money to purchase the vehicle outright. You make monthly payments that include principal and interest. When the loan is paid off, you own the car. It's yours. No more payments. You can drive it, sell it, modify it, crash it into a tree. It belongs to you. The financial structure is straightforward. You negotiate a purchase price. You make a down payment. You finance the remainder at an agreed interest rate for a set term, typically 48 to 72 months. Each month, a portion of your payment goes toward interest and a portion pays down the principal. Over time, the interest share decreases and the principal share increases. When the final payment is made, you hold the title free and clear. The total cost of buying is the purchase price plus total interest paid minus the car's resale value when you eventually sell or trade it. That net cost, what the car actually cost you to own for the years you had it, is the number that matters for comparison purposes. Let's run a concrete example. You buy a $40,000 car. You put $3,000 down. You finance $37,000 at 6% APR for 60 months. Your monthly payment is about $715. Over 60 months, you pay a total of $42,900. That's $5,900 in interest. After 5 years, the car is paid off and worth roughly $18,000 to $20,000 on the used market. Your net cost of ownership for those 5 years, what you actually spent after accounting for the car's remaining value, is approximately $22,900 to $24,900. That's about $380 to $450 per month in real cost. But here's the key: after month 60, the payments stop. If you keep the car for another 5 years, years 6 through 10, your only costs are maintenance, insurance, and fuel. No car payment. The car continues to depreciate, but slowly, maybe it drops from $18,000 to $8,000 over those 5 years. Your total net cost over the full 10 years is roughly $34,900 to $36,900. That's about $290 to $390 per month, averaged over a decade. The longer you keep a bought car past the loan payoff, the lower your effective monthly cost becomes. This is the fundamental economic advantage of buying. The payment has a finish line. Every month after that finish line is a month where the car costs you only maintenance and depreciation, not a loan payment. Leasing is fundamentally different from buying, and most people don't understand the mechanics. When you lease a car, you're not paying for the whole vehicle. You're paying for the depreciation that occurs during the lease term. The difference between the car's value when it's new and its projected value when the lease ends, plus interest and fees. There are several terms specific to leasing that you need to understand because they're the levers that determine your cost. Capitalized cost, cap cost. This is the negotiated price of the car, equivalent to the purchase price in a finance deal. Yes, you can and should negotiate the cap cost on a lease, just like you'd negotiate the purchase price. Many people don't realize this. They think the monthly payment is fixed. It's not. A lower cap cost means a lower monthly payment. Residual value. This is what the leasing company predicts the car will be worth at the end of the lease term. It's expressed as a percentage of the MSRP. A car with a 55% residual after 36 months on a $40,000 MSRP has a projected end-of-lease value of $22,000. The residual is set by the leasing company. You can't negotiate it, but it's one of the most important numbers in the lease because it determines how much depreciation you're paying for. Higher residual equals less depreciation equals lower monthly payment. Cars that hold their value well, Toyota, Lexus, Honda, Porsche, tend to have higher residuals, which makes them cheaper to lease relative to their purchase price. Cars that depreciate heavily, some luxury brands, certain domestic models, have lower residuals and are more expensive to lease relative to their price. Money factor. This is the leasing equivalent of an interest rate. It's expressed as a small decimal like 0.00.7, which you can convert to an approximate APR by multiplying by 2,400. So 0.125 times 400 equals 3% APR equivalent. The money factor determines how much interest you pay on the lease. Lower is better. Like interest rates on loans, your credit score determines the money factor you qualify for. Lease term, typically 24, 36, or 39 months. Shorter terms mean higher monthly payments but less total depreciation. Longer terms mean lower monthly payments but more total paid over the lease. Most leases are 36 months, the sweet spot where the car is still under factory warranty for the entire term. Mileage allowance. Leases come with annual mileage limits, typically 10,000, 12,000, or 15,000 miles per year. If you exceed the allowance, you pay an excess mileage charge at the end of the lease, usually $0.15, $0.30 per mile over the limit. On a 36-month lease with 10,000 miles per year, your total allowance is 30,000 miles. Drive 38,000 and you owe $1,200 to $2,400 in excess mileage charges at turn-in. These charges can be a nasty surprise for people who underestimate their driving. Now let's calculate a lease payment. You're leasing a $40,000 car with a residual of 55% after 36 months. Cap cost is $40,000, assuming no negotiation for simplicity. Residual value is $22,000. The depreciation you're paying for is $40,000, $22,000, $18,000 over 36 months. That's $500 per month just for depreciation. Add the money factor charge. The money factor is applied to the sum of the cap cost and residual. $40,000 plus $22,000 times 0.125 equals $77.25 per month in interest. Add taxes and fees, and your total lease payment lands around $600 to $625 per month before any down payment or negotiation. If you put $3,000 down, called a cap cost reduction in lease terminology, the depreciation portion drops. $40,000, $3,000, $22,000, for 36 months, for $17,700 per month. Add interest and fees and you're around $500 to $520 per month, significantly lower than the finance payment on the same car. And that lower number is why leasing is seductive. The monthly payment comparison is misleading because it's comparing a 60-month commitment to a 36-month rental. To make a fair comparison, you need to look at the total cost over the same time period. Let's use 10 years, a realistic ownership horizon that captures the full economic picture. Scenario A, buy and keep for 10 years. Purchase price, $40,000. Down payment, $3,000. Finance, $37,000 at 6% for 60 months. Monthly payment, $715. Total payments over 60 months, $42,900. months 61 to 120 zeros in car payments. Car's value at year 10, roughly $8,000. Total out-of-pocket, $42,900. Payments, $3,000, down $45,900. Minus $8,000 resale value, $37,900. Resale value equals $37,900. Net cost over 10 years. That's $316 per month averaged over a decade. Scenario B. Lease every 3 years. 3 consecutive leases plus a partial fourth. Lease 1, months 136, $40,000 car, $3,000 down. 1,316 month, 13,018, 360 plus $3,000 equals 21,036. Lease 2 months 37 to 72. New $42,000 car. Prices increase 3% annually. $3,000 down. 535/month. 19,260 Pew is $30,000 equals 2260 267. Lease 3 month 73 108. New $44,000 car. $3,000 down. $560. 0.60 cents, 160 plus $3,000 equals $23,160. Months 199 320 10. Months 199 320. 10 months into a fourth lease. $500 850. Total out of pocket $21,360 plus $22,260 plus 23. $160 plus $8,560, $75, $603. Net cost over 10 years. That's $630 per month, averaged over a decade, and at the end of 10 years, you own nothing. No car, no asset, no equity, just a fourth lease you're still paying on. Read those numbers again. $37,900 versus $75,603. The buyer spent roughly half of what the serial leaser spent over the same 10 years and ends up with a car worth $8,000. The leaser spent twice as much and has nothing. This is the math that lease advocates don't show you. The monthly payment comparison, $510 versus $715, makes leasing look cheaper. The total cost over a real ownership timeline makes leasing look dramatically more expensive. The math above is devastating for leasing. But it's not the complete picture because leasing offers genuine advantages that the raw cost comparison doesn't capture. You're always under warranty. A 36-month lease means the car is covered by the manufacturer's factory warranty for the entire time you have it. No unexpected repair bills, no catastrophic engine failure costs, no transmission rebuild. The warranty covers everything except wear items like brakes and tires. For people who dread unexpected repair costs, this peace of mind has real value. You're always in a new car. Every 3 years you get the latest safety technology, the newest infotainment system, the most current driver assistance features, and the best fuel economy. Technology improves significantly in 3-year cycles. A leaser in 2026 has a car with features that didn't exist in 2023. A buyer who purchased in 2020 and plans to keep the car for 10 years will be driving a car with 6-year-old technology by 2026. Lower maintenance costs. New cars need minimal maintenance, oil changes, tire rotations, cabin filters. A leased car that's always under 3 years old never needs timing belts, water pumps, suspension components, or the age-related repairs that accumulate on older vehicles. The total maintenance cost over 10 years of leasing is significantly lower than 10 years of owning an aging vehicle. Tax advantages for business use. If you use the car for business, lease payments may be fully deductible as a business expense. The tax treatment of leasing versus buying for business use varies by situation and should be discussed with a tax professional. But for self-employed individuals and business owners, leasing can offer meaningful tax benefits that change the effective cost calculation. No resale hassle. At the end of a lease, you return the car. No posting listings. No low-ball offers. No strangers test driving your car. No negotiating with buyers. No worrying about whether your car is worth what you think it is. You hand over the keys and walk away. For people who hate the selling process, this convenience has value. gap between payment and total cost. If your cash flow is tight but you need a reliable car, the lower monthly payment of a lease keeps more money available for other expenses or investments. The difference between a $715 finance payment and a $510 lease payment is $205 per month. If you invest that $205 per month at 7% return over 5 years, it grows to roughly $14,700. That doesn't close the total cost gap entirely, but it narrows it. Whether you actually invest the difference or just spend it on other things determines whether this argument holds water in practice. Leasing has costs that aren't immediately visible and can turn a seemingly good deal into a bad one. Acquisition fee. Most leases include an acquisition fee, typically $500 to $1,000, charged by the leasing company to originate the lease. It's often rolled into the cap cost so you don't notice it, but it increases your total cost. Disposition fee. When you return the car at the end of the leasing company charges a disposition fee, typically $300 to $500 to cover the cost of inspecting, reconditioning, and reselling the vehicle. This fee is due at turn-in regardless of the car's condition. Excess wear and tear charges. The leasing company will inspect the car at turn-in and charge you for any damage beyond normal wear and tear. What counts as normal versus excessive is subjective and defined by the lease agreement, but scratches, dents, stained upholstery, curbed wheels, and cracked windshields can all result in charges. These can add up to hundreds or thousands of dollars. If you have kids, a dog, a gravel driveway, or a general tendency to treat your car like a tool rather than a museum piece, the wear charges can be significant. Excess mileage charges. As mentioned, exceeding your mileage allowance costs $0.15 per mile. This is pure penalty with no negotiation at turn-in. If your commute changes, you take an unexpected road trip, or you simply drive more than you estimated, the bill at turn-in can be painful. A person who drives 15,000 miles per year on a lease with a 10,000-mile annual allowance will owe for 15,000 excess miles over 3 years. At $0.25 per mile, that's $30,750 due at turn-in, a lump sum that most people don't plan for. No equity. This is the biggest hidden cost because it's not a line item, it's an absence. When you return a leased car, you have nothing. You don't own an asset. You can't sell it and recoup money. You can't use its value as a trade-in. You start from zero every time. Over a lifetime of leasing, this absence of equity accumulates into a significant wealth gap compared to someone who buys cars and keeps them past the loan payoff. Early termination penalties. If your life circumstances change and you need to get out of a lease early, it's expensive. Early lease termination typically requires paying all remaining payments plus fees. There's no sell the car and walk away option. You're locked in. Some leases can be transferred to another person through lease assumption services, but it's not always possible and involves its own fees and complications. Down payment risk. Financial advisors generally recommend putting zero down on a lease, or as little as possible. Here's why. If the car is totaled or stolen in the first month, the insurance pays the leasing company the car's value, which covers the lease obligation. But your $3,000 down payment is gone. It was applied to reduce the lease obligation, and the insurance payout satisfies the remaining balance. You lose $3,000 and have no car. With a finance purchase, the insurance pays you or your lender, and any equity you've built, including the down payment, is reflected in the payout. Putting money down on a lease is essentially an uninsured risk. Dealers love leasing, not because it's good for you, because it's profitable for them. Understanding how they profit helps you protect yourself. First, the cap cost. Many lessees don't negotiate the cap cost because they're focused entirely on the monthly payment. The dealer can inflate the selling price, and as long as the monthly number fits the customer's target, nobody pushes back. This is the same monthly payment illusion that plagues financing. The customer fixates on the output number while the dealer manipulates the inputs. Second, the money factor markup. Just like interest rate markups on financed loans, dealers can mark up the money factor on a lease. The leasing company might offer a base money factor of 0.10.4% APR equivalent. The dealer presents 0.075, 4.2% APR equivalent. The difference goes to the dealer as profit. Over 36 months on a $40,000 lease, a money factor markup of 0.775 costs you roughly $1,670 in additional interest. You'd never know unless you independently verified the base money factor, which you can do by checking with the manufacturer's financial arm or lease-focused consumer resources. Third, the lease-to-lease cycle. Dealers want you leasing perpetually because every lease turn-in is a guaranteed customer return. When you come back to turn in your lease, they have a captive audience. You need a car, you're already at the dealership. The path of least resistance is to sign another lease. The dealer gets another sale, another finance commission, and another F&I opportunity. The perpetual lease customer is the most profitable customer a dealer can have, a guaranteed transaction every 3 years, forever. Fourth, the F&I products. Just like in a finance deal, the F&I office will offer you products, excess wear and tear coverage, tire and wheel protection, maintenance plans, gap insurance. Some of these have value for a lease. Excess wear coverage can protect you from turn-in charges, for instance, but they're all marked up, and the monthly payment framing makes them seem cheap, just $18 more per month for wear protection. That's $648 over 36 months for a product that might cost the dealer $150. The defense is the same as in any dealership transaction. Negotiate the cap cost independently of the monthly payment. Ask for the base money factor and compare it to what you're being offered. Evaluate F&I products on their total cost, not their monthly impact. And remember that the dealer's enthusiasm for leasing is proportional to their profit from it. Leased vehicles come with specific insurance requirements that typically exceed what you might carry on a car you own outright, and the difference adds cost that people forget to factor into their comparison. Leasing companies require you to carry higher liability limits, often 100/300, 100 or higher, plus comprehensive and collision coverage with low deductibles, typically $500 or less. These requirements protect the leasing company's asset, but they also increase your insurance premium compared to what you might choose on a purchased vehicle. If you own your car outright and it's older, you might choose to drop comprehensive and collision coverage entirely, saving hundreds per year. On a leased car, that's not an option. The leasing company mandates the coverage for the duration of the lease. The insurance premium difference between a fully covered lease and a bare minimum owned car can be $50 to $150 per month, depending on your location, driving record, and the vehicle. Gap insurance is also a consideration, since leased vehicles can be worth less than the remaining lease obligation, especially early in the term. Gap insurance covers the difference if the car is totaled or stolen. Some lease agreements include gap coverage. Many don't. If yours doesn't, you need to buy it separately. It typically costs $20 to $40 per month from the dealer, or significantly less from your insurance company. Either way, it's an additional cost that's specific to leasing and doesn't apply to a finance purchase where you've put adequate money down. When comparing lease versus buy costs, always include the insurance premium difference. The lower lease payment can be partially or fully offset by higher insurance requirements, a cost that's invisible in the lease agreement but very real in your monthly budget. The most common lease mistakes share a theme. They all involve the lessee not understanding the terms they're agreeing to. Mistake 1. Putting too much money down. We covered this. Large down payments on leases are uninsured risk. If anything happens to the car early in the lease, that money is gone. Keep the down payment minimal and accept the slightly higher monthly payment. Mistake 2. Underestimating mileage. Be honest with yourself about how much you drive. If there's any doubt, get the higher mileage allowance up front. Buying extra miles at lease inception, typically $0 and $2.15 per mile, is significantly cheaper than paying the excess mileage penalty at turn-in, which is usually $0.02, $2.30 per mile. Pre-buying miles you don't use might cost you a small amount. Underbuying miles you do use will cost you much more. Mistake 3. Ignoring the cap cost. The monthly payment on a lease can be manipulated by adjusting the term, the money factor, the down payment, and the cap cost. If you negotiate only on the monthly payment, you're giving the dealer control over all 4 variables. Negotiate the cap cost first, treating it exactly like a purchase price negotiation, and then build the lease terms from there. Mistake 4. Not understanding turn-in condition standards. Read your lease agreement's wear and tear guidelines before you sign, not when you're turning the car in. Know what they consider excessive damage. Some programs are lenient. A few door dings and minor scratches are fine, others are strict. Anything beyond factory new condition gets a charge. If you know the standard up front, you can either adjust your behavior or budget for the charges. Mistake 5. Forgetting about lease end options. As the lease end approaches, start researching your options early, at least 3 months before turn-in. Get the car's market value. Compare it to the residual buyout price. Decide whether returning, buying out, or possibly selling to a third party is the best financial move. Don't wait until the last week and make a rushed decision because the dealer is calling about your next lease. At the end of a lease, you typically have 3 choices: return the car, lease a new one, or buy the car at its residual value. That third option, the lease buyout, is an underappreciated strategy that can sometimes produce a good deal. Remember, the residual value was set at the beginning of the lease as a prediction of what the car would be worth. If the car's actual market value at lease end is higher than the residual, buying it out is a smart move. You're purchasing the car below market value. You can either keep it now owning it outright or sell it and pocket the difference. This happened a lot during the post-pandemic used car price spike. Residual values had been set before prices surged, so lessees had the option to buy their cars for $22,000 when the market value was $28,000 or more. People were buying their leased cars and immediately selling them at a profit. In normal market conditions, the residual and market value are usually close, but if you've kept the car in great condition and driven well under the mileage limit, the buyout can still make sense, especially if you like the car and want to avoid the depreciation hit of starting fresh with a new vehicle. Buying out a lease and keeping the car for several more years mimics the economic advantage of buying and holding. You paid for the steepest depreciation through the lease, and now you own a car that depreciates more slowly going forward. Should leasing genuinely make sense in specific situations? Business owners and self-employed individuals who can deduct lease payments as a business expense, the tax benefit can change the math substantially, effectively reducing the monthly cost by your marginal tax rate. People who genuinely want a new car every 3 years and have made the conscious, informed decision that the premium is worth it to them. This is a lifestyle choice, not a financial optimization. If you value always having the latest technology, safety features, and warranty coverage, and you understand the total cost premium, leasing delivers exactly what you want. People who drive predictable, low miles. If your commute is short, your driving is local, and you consistently stay under 10,000 to 12,000 miles per year, the mileage restriction isn't a constraint. The lease works as designed. People who don't want to deal with vehicle ownership complexity. Leasing is simple. Drive it, maintain it minimally, return it. No selling, no trade-in negotiation, no worrying about long-term reliability or resale value. For people who view a car purely as a transportation appliance and want the minimum hassle, leasing delivers that simplicity. Buying makes sense in the majority of situations, particularly for people focused on long-term financial optimization. People who keep cars for more than 5 years. The math overwhelmingly favors buying if you keep the car past the loan payoff. Every payment-free month is pure savings compared to a perpetual leaser. People who drive a lot. If you consistently drive more than 12,000 to 15,000 miles per year, the mileage penalties on a lease erode whatever monthly payment advantage existed. Buying has no mileage restrictions. Drive 25,000 miles a year if you want. Nobody charges you extra. People who modify their cars. Lease agreements prohibit modifications. You can't lower it, tune it, exhaust it, or make it yours. Buying gives you full ownership and full freedom to do whatever you want. People building long-term wealth. Cars are depreciating assets regardless of how you acquire them, but buying and keeping builds equity that leasing never provides. A paid-off car is a financial asset, imperfect and depreciating, but real. A leased car is rented transportation that builds zero equity ever. People who don't mind driving older vehicles. If you're comfortable driving a 7-year-old car that still runs well, and most modern cars run well at 7 years, buying is dramatically cheaper over time. The payment-free years are where the savings compound. Some financially savvy people combine elements of both approaches. One method: lease a car with a strong residual value for 36 months, then exercise the buyout option and keep the car for an additional 4 to 7 years. You get the new car experience and warranty coverage during the lease, then transition to ownership for the cost-efficient long-haul phase. If the residual was set conservatively, you might even buy the car below its actual market value at lease end. Another method: buy a 2 to 3-year-old used car that someone else leased. Let the first owner absorb the steepest depreciation through their lease, then buy the car as a used vehicle at a significant discount. This captures the value sweet spot. You get a relatively new car with modern features and remaining warranty at a price that reflects the depreciation someone else already paid for. Both strategies require more effort and knowledge than simply walking into a dealer and signing whatever they put in front of you. But the savings are real and substantial. Buying means you pay for the entire car plus interest and own it when the loan is paid off. Leasing means you pay for the depreciation during the lease term plus interest and own nothing at the end. Leasing has lower monthly payments because you're financing less of the car's value, but the total cost over a decade is roughly double because you never stop paying. Residual value, money factor, and cap cost are the 3 key lease numbers. Negotiate the cap cost, check the money factor against your credit tier, and favor cars with high residuals. Lease advantages include warranty coverage, always new vehicles, lower maintenance, business tax deductions, and no resale hassle. Lease disadvantages include mileage limits, wear charges, no equity, early termination penalties, and down payment risk. Buying wins for long-term holders, high-mileage drivers, modifiers, and wealth builders. Leasing wins for business users, low-mileage drivers, and people who consciously choose the new car lifestyle. The lease buyout option at end of term can sometimes offer below-market pricing. The best strategy might be a hybrid: lease then buy out, or buy what someone else leased. Leasing versus buying isn't a debate with a universal winner. It's a math problem with personal variables. Your driving habits, your financial goals, your tax situation, your tolerance for car payments, and your feelings about always having a new car versus eventually having no payment. These inputs determine which answer is right for you. But here's what is universal: most people who lease don't understand the total cost, and most people who buy don't keep the car long enough to realize the full financial advantage. The lease guy thinks he's saving money because his payment is lower. The finance guy thinks he's building equity but trades in after 4 years and resets the clock. Both are leaving money on the table because they're making decisions based on monthly payments instead of total cost over time. Do the 10-year math for your specific situation. Use your numbers, your income, your mileage, your car choice, your interest rate, your tax bracket. The answer will be clear, and it'll be yours, not some internet argument between strangers who don't know your life. If this video finally settled the lease versus buy question for you, or at least gave you the math to settle it yourself, hit like, drop whether you lease or buy in the comments along with your reasoning, because I genuinely want to see both sides represented. And subscribe so you stop making the second biggest financial decision of your life based on a monthly payment instead of a total cost calculation. Later.